Hi, I'm James Cracknell and I'm going to share some triathlon tips with you. Fortunately, they're not mine. I'm joined by Richard Jones, former British triathlete and UK half Ironman winner. Richard, we'll start at the beginning. What's the best way to make sure you've got that wetsuit fitting properly?
Well, first of all, the wetsuit needs to fit correctly, making sure it's tight enough so it doesn't leak any water, but not too tight that it's restricting your breathing. The best way to put it on is to keep your socks on when you're putting a wetsuit on, or use a plastic bag. It makes it far more easier to get the wetsuit on that way. Getting the wetsuit nice and high around your waist so there's no hanging between the legs, making sure it's pulled right up to your shoulders and nice and tight, and that way you can have a nice, comfortable swim.
You see people getting out of the water, struggling with the zip and pulling the wetsuit down. What's the best way to get that quick transition out onto the bike?
The best way is once you exit the swim and you're running towards your bike or walking towards your bike, you take the wetsuit down, but only to your hips. Once you arrive to your bike, you actually grab the wetsuit at the waist and push it down quite aggressively, as far down as you can to your ankles. Then you can actually stamp your way out of the wetsuit. That's the easiest and quickest way of doing that.
And moving on to the bike, that's obviously the longest section in the triathlon. What's the best way to get the most out of yourself in those 40 kilometres?
The best way is to race your own ways first and foremost, and cadence plays an important part on the bike. And if you aim to cycle around 90 revolutions per minute, that's probably the most efficient. And Windsor being quite an undulating course, then you don't want to be over gearing, because that has a knock-on effect to your run as well.
And if you haven't got an RPM system on your speedo, how can you work out if you are at the right cadence or not?
Practice, practice, practice. That's one way of doing that. Possibly if you have a timer or a speedo on your bike, then use your speedo to count your revolutions every 15 seconds or 30 seconds, just to give you a kind of a gauge throughout the bike course.
And the hardest thing I found when I'm doing triathlons is a switch from the bike to the run. I kind of run like a granddad for the first few kilometres. What's the best way to get that nice smooth transition from one to the other?
But the first K should run quite easy. Find your rhythm. You don't want to be running out of transition very hard, because then you become anaerobic. You need your legs to find themselves on the run. And in Windsor, it's that sharp hill outside Windsor Castle, which can take a lot of energy out of yourself. So take it easy for the first K, and then find your rhythm. And again, you're looking at the cadence, the stride pattern of around 90, which is most people's natural cadence.
And most of us mortals don't go around the course quite as quick as you. What's the best way to make sure we keep our energy levels up all the way around?
Well, Windsor has always notoriously been a hot day for some bizarre reason. You should have at least one water bottle, 70-50ml water bottle, with carbohydrate drinks within that bottle, and possibly have 1 or 2 gels on the bike, be taken halfway through the bike and quarter of an hour before the end of the bike, and sip little and often on the bike, and take on water throughout the feed stations on the run as well.
Fantastic. Thank you, Richard. Well, we might not be going round as quick as Richard, but the best thing is, and Richard's already spoken about it, is training. That's what's going to get you to go well. And the most important thing is monitoring it. Now, we can't all be used to writing everything down in a training diary, and the way I do it is I use a Nokia N82, which has a feature called Sports Tracker, which you can use when you're running and cycling, which monitors your speed, your average speed, and it can also track the route you've done. So you have an accurate record of how you've improved, and you can share it with other people you're training with and build up towards the big day to make sure you get the best out of yourself. You and I won't be going around as quick as Richard, but have a good one.